instead of creating something that will set us apart or make us cool or whatever, maybe the best thing to be is authentic and allow the art to happen, and excellence will come out of that. But that's how we're approaching everything here. The gospel choir is a huge piece.
Gospel music is it's a popular style, but it's also very intriguing to a lot of different people, regardless of their backgrounds. And I think it's been a good thing. We've got 30 plus people that have signed up for the choir. Then there's some people who've never had any kind of training. They just have a huge desire to just be there and just, God, I want you to use me in whatever way you can. This is that opportunity for them to be able to give who they are.
We want to be a church in the city. Everything that we're doing here is to become contextual to Minneapolis, to where we are. And so being in one of the most artistic cities in the world, our art should reflect that, our worship should reflect that. So the philosophy is just become contextual. And we want to be multi-generational, we want to be multicultural.
A way that we can all be a part of worship and feel that I can share who I am, and you get a bunch of everybody together and you give them an opportunity to open their mouth, and if they're big and bad enough to stand up there, then get up there. Let's see what you're going to do.
Being that there's so many students here in the Twin Cities community, and in a lot of ways, campus ministries and the different college campus environments are sometimes so busy doing their own thing that we kind of lack the perspective of what God might do with all of us if we were to actually join together and pray together and worship together and seek to go out in mission together, because we have this enormous, beautiful space. But oftentimes, an event can just be an event unless we find ourselves really invested in it ourselves. And so the idea was from the get-go to say, let's look at this as our opportunity to open our doors to college students and to partner with college students in mission on their campuses. And so hospitality has been a huge area that we've invested a lot in. Everything from getting volunteers to be like the baristas and run the food and the refreshments and all that, and trying to make it a warm and welcoming environment, to stage design and tech support and all those kinds of things. And in fact, I think in the first Unite event in October, we had somewhere in the neighborhood of 50 volunteers, a ton of those from First Covenant, and then also students from colleges all across the Twin Cities that were involved in helping put the event on. And so as we've kind of looked at just the influence of the college community in our city, we have to be engaged with them. We have to be in conversation with them. We have to be listening to them and learning from them, and we have to create space for college students to see themselves in a community of faith. I really think that there's some great possibility for us figuring out how it is that we can be a meaningful and faithful presence here in Minneapolis.
The homeless shelter is one of those catalytic events that only God can design. Most downtown congregations support work with homeless, but they don't really open their doors to actually doing a shelter. Well, I think in revitalization, you just do whatever's in front of you that God has brought kind of boldly, and sometimes even with a lot of just energy and not having everything perfect. So we jumped in. So it was a unique collaborative partnership of the county providing money, the Salvation Army providing staffing, and then we as a church were the ones who provided the space, the energy, the excitement, and the ability to actually open the shelter the night before the 5th worst snowstorm in Minnesota's history. I mean, this kind of stuff you can't plan. And God, it was like He swooped in and at the right moment asked us to do it. The leadership team within 1 week said yes. The congregation applauded when I talked about it in a sermon, and then it was only 2 weeks later that we opened the shelter. Just amazing. First Covenant Church is on, of course, a journey of rebirth, redevelopment, rethinking, And in the midst of that, we really determined that there are 4 key buckets, I would call them, that we are to be focusing on. One is that we become more diverse to reflect the mosaic of who lives in Minneapolis. The second is that we remain multi-generational. The congregation already had all the generations, but it's a discipline to remain that. The third is that we become urban in our imagination. We are an urban church, but now we have to live into it. That's not always automatic. And the fourth is that we see those 3 buckets formed in Christian community together. Well, in a poetic way, the shelter did all of that. And that's the kingdom of God. And had we not, really aggressively went after this with the Salvation Army, we would have never had that opportunity to begin to see it come together. And I can only, in fact, attribute what God is doing to the effort, to the energy, to the resources of surrounding First Covenant for this work. So I kind of run out of words because I feel not only resourced, but personally engaged and connected to the conference, and pray for the day that First Covenant Church can give back to the degree that it has given to First Covenant.